On tonight's episode of Dolphins After Dark, I'm joined by Brittney of Sideline Tea, Neal Drsicoll, and Jennifer Forbush is pending. Sorry, fellas. And we are going to discuss our top training camp battles for this week as training camp starts for the Dolphins. Also, we will talk about Shaq Barrett retiring. A familiar face will be visiting with the Dolphins this week, and so much more. Please do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field on the near side, that open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fit Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. Appreciate all y'all coming through on this Sunday evening as we get ready for training camp to open up this week. Quarterbacks, hopefully plural, will be signed this week, and we got a potential big week ahead of us. Brittney, Neal, how are you guys feeling as finally we made it? We made it through the lull and the low of the off season. We are finally almost there. Brittney, how are you feeling besides overworked and stressed out?
I'm doing well. I'm a little tired, but yeah.
Tell everyone about Travis. That you just dropped the episode with Travis, and you got episode 2 coming out tomorrow. Yep. So tell everyone what you got going on there.
So tomorrow night is just a really fun episode. We do like all games. We have rapid questions. We asked Travis a bunch of rapid questions, which was really fun. Kind of put him on the spot a little bit. Dad jokes. We have Dolphin Olympics. That's a good one. And yeah, some other good stuff, but I'll leave it there. But yeah, really fun episode tomorrow night.
What time?
8:00.
There you go. Be there, be square, people. Neal, what do you got going on, brother?
Not much, man. I'm ready to get into training camp, as we discussed before here, waiting for my copy of college football for my PlayStation to arrive so that I have a new hobby. Always good to get a new hobby under the belt, but now ready for some Dolphins football. We made it through kind of the slow part of the year, and now things get fast and furious pretty quick here. So, and in typical Miami Dolphin style, we're left with a interesting situation with a sudden retirement that we'll be talking about for sure.
Brother, I'm gonna say, oh snap diggity. I'm gonna say two things about college football. One, you can tell because it's not made for PlayStation 4, right? You can tell it's like such a next gen game,
the graphics
and then
insane.
They're insane, bro. The fluid movement in the pocket by the quarterback is like so realistic, it's disgusting. Like it's ridiculous.
Well, Madden has sucked. I mean, well, I won't say it sucks, but I will say that Madden's been the same thing for like 7 years in a row, right? Like there hasn't been that many new enhancements to it, so it's good just to have an alternative football game to use.
Jennifer, she went from stranded on the side of the road changing tires to live on YouTube.
They're not changed.
Hi, Jen.
Oh, you got towed? You got the tow?
Yeah, I got fucking towed.
Oh,
no work tomorrow, though. That's awesome, huh?
Yes, it's great. AAA is a really good gift to give to anyone if anyone's ever looking for a really boring yet immensely practical gift.
And she just had to go through this 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
She's star out there, you know.
Yeah, I am a menace to society. Yeah, so I will just suggest to everyone that texting and driving is a really bad idea. Not that I was doing that. It wasn't. I literally dropped my phone. It's the same thing that happened to me before. Fuck. Whatever.
What did you do? Did you go over like a curb or something? What
Just
happened?
these
Popped your tire.
How though?
two tires, two.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
How? What are you, Fast and the Furious while you're
No,
texting?
I drive like a fuck,
That's
like
good.
your grandma too. I don't drive fast, but no one like the road was empty, and I happened to drop my phone. I reached down to get it, and apparently I reached with my entire body, and so I swerved to the right, and there are these like the
Children?
new curb. No, there were these kids that I no just kidding. Do new construction with these like granite curb things over like a sewer drain. And that's when it hit. And that's the thing that, and the tow truck driver was like, I don't know why they do all this damn construction with this stuff. Like it just like these like regular ones just like direct you back into the road. Whatever. I'm
Geico has entered the chat apparently.
Jen Robert says your F-bomb counter is at 2 so far.
No, I stopped myself on the second one, Robert. I think.
And they say you're on
Canadian and he says you're on Canadian side.
Robert, I think I stopped the second one, and shout out at least to my friend who owns a towing company who didn't even get the tow.
Oh,
but who at least replaces my tire at cost and doesn't charge me.
There you go.
I love you, CJ.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
sorry. Anyway, yep. So there's that. So everyone, and pay attention and be more careful.
So Jennifer needs to travel with at least 2 spares in her trunk from now on.
I tried to get I know, just whatever. I'm not going to change a tire. Like, let's be serious. Even if I had spares, I'm not changing them. I've done it before. I have, but I'm not doing that. Anyway,
I have no idea how to change it.
I'm glad you made it. Not gonna lie.
I'm glad I made it too. I'm glad it wasn't any worse. There was a mailbox pretty close by. And
Listen. I got a story for you before we get into this. So when I was 16, I was doing a co-op, and I was doing a co-op at a sports agency, like a hockey agency. They represented hockey players and stuff. Players you probably guys don't remember. Like, do you remember Keith Primo? Anyone up here?
I do.
No.
I don't know if you remember Keith Primo. Played for like the Philadelphia Flyers and stuff. He's huge. Anyways, what happened is we were coming back, and my co-op boss at the time, because I didn't have a car, I was 16, was driving me back to school, and we came onto this part of the winding road that like curved. Anyways, this like 88 Beamer comes flying, and it had just finished raining. He's probably doing like probably 60, 65 miles per hour, just flooring it. And I guess he lost control, and this happened right in front of us. And the car skid, and it started doing spins, and it went up over the curb, and it smacked into a mailbox, and the mailbox dented in like behind the driver's seat, like the passenger behind the driver's seat, like dented in there. The thing is, there was a girl sitting there.
what?
Where it dented in on, and she was like the best friend of my girlfriend at the time. And yeah, it like
What?
paraplegic. Like I remember them. I remember them.
Way to
putting her-
kill the vibe.
Yeah, this was a happy story about me making it out relatively.
was
untouched.
not-
I'm just saying, don't joke about going over curves and mailboxes, because bad things can happen.
No,
Bad
I'm not
things can
trying to
happen.
joke. I said I'm glad I'm here. I didn't mean it bad.
God,
Well, she's still here.
Way to kill the vibes in here.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, but I had to go to like court, and the guy denied. Like the guy who was driving the car was like telling people, "I can't wait to get back to racing. I can't wait to get back." Like blah 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 blah. Like his parents went like so broke over like paying attorneys that they ended up moving into a smaller house, and they put him in a group home.
Jesus. Well, I didn't. There was no one else around me.
So watch out for kids while you're texting, Jennifer.
Oh my God!
There's-
I did not do that.
He wasn't
honestly,
doing
what
that.
happened? It fell. I told Brittney before.
God.
I told Brittney before that my dad told me the story, or I knew about it. There was like a van upstate of this in New York, this like religious group on a road trip somewhere, and a coffee mug like fell and rolled under the pedals, and so the guy couldn't brake, and he killed like 6 or something around that many people in this terrible accident. So if anything ever falls near like the pedals, I get nervous. Now, a phone's flat, so I should know better, and it really doesn't matter. And this was my own fault, but I'm not going to make that mistake again. Okay.
Yeah, dude, especially when the phone falls down in the side of the chair.
That's
That's what happened. Sorry, Jen.
Oh, so it didn't fall in front of you on the floor?
No,
by
it
your
didn't.
feet?
But the last time it went under my feet, and that's what I got paranoid about. This time I was just being dumb
and
not paying attention because there's nobody on the road. It was empty. It was like bright, sunny, nice out. I just was like being careless, like a jerk. So learn a lesson from me and be better.
25 religious freaks in a VW microbus.
It wasn't like that.
Oh my God.
Robert, stop.
That's crazy. Okay, well, enough of that talk and me adding to the mood.
Anybody seen the Netflix series Your Honor? No.
I've never even heard of it.
All right, that's actually
all right. I just finished watching the Swamp, the 4-part series on the Gators. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Thank you, James. Yes, I've seen it, but you're
it's pretty good. It's what's it called? Swamp.
I don't know. It came out last summer. It was a Gator documentary about. Oh, it came out on August 22nd last year. I remember that.
I'll tell you what it was. It called Swamp Kings.
Swamp Kings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called. You know how Netflix has like their version of 30 for 30, the untold stuff. They did a 4-part series on the Gators. It's called Swamp Kings.
Oh my God! I'm thinking. Listen, because we all talked about swamp people the other day. I was literally thinking like actual like alligators, not the Florida gators. And yeah, I started watching that, but I couldn't finish it because.
It wasn't as good, honestly. I thought it was going to be better than.
Yeah,
I did. I thought it was going to be better. They clearly worked around Urban's like parameters, and they didn't go deep enough into all the trouble that actually happened down there. The beginning of it was really good.
Listen, yes, thank you, Jen, for saying that. I'm not going to get into it, but. So they missed out. They didn't cover so much of that stuff, like when all the allegations were going on of God, what were they doing?
Paying recruits. They were paying recruits and stuff, weren't they?
Yeah, it was that, but they were also like during that same time frame.
It was just
they
like
were also
and just
they got the whole drug thing where he was God.
They didn't somebody just said they had all of Aaron Hernandez to dig into, and they just avoided it.
They mentioned him 1 second. They mentioned him as like a weapon when they talked about the recruiting class, and then that was it for the Aaron Hernandez stuff.
Yeah. And Tebow defended him in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. When they talked about going to the club, and Tebow was like, it was after they lost their second game or whatever in that one season. And then he was like, the things they were saying to Aaron at the club were just terrible and horrific and blah, 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 blah.
Tebow said, like, I should have done more. And I let him get into that fight. But clearly, I mean, looking back now, Tebow, you probably couldn't have done anything.
Yeah, I don't think
so. Rest your little head, unbothered.
Other than cleaning his guns, you couldn't have done much more.
But they I don't know. I just felt like for Netflix, that's normally a little edgier. They clearly they had somebody's agenda, and it was Urban Meyer's. And then
30 for 30 would have went way deeper and not let that fly, right?
Your Honor is really good, though. I don't know if I've muted before. It's awesome. It was on HBO or Showtime before.
I'm guessing there's a judge involved.
A judge. It's Bryan Cranston, who's a judge, the dude from Breaking Bad, Walter White, and his son gets it. Oh, this is probably why someone brought this up. I didn't even think about it. It starts with his son killing someone in a car accident, and then I didn't realize why
keeping those vibes going our way.
But everybody's keeping it quiet, and then as the story unfolds, and it's really good. It's really, really great TV. Yeah, you should watch it. And that is absolutely not what happened today. for the
All I can
Neal,
think of is Night
did
Court.
we lose Neal? Is he still
No,
here?
Neal's like, what the hell are these guys talking about? What a waste
Neal's
of
like,
my
that's just,
time.
I'm waiting. I want to talk football.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like I
he's
took
doing.
out, took out some of my Sunday night for this trash. That's what Neal's thinking about right now.
Yeah, Your Honor is dope. Yeah,
No
you guys should watch
texting
it.
and
If you haven't
driving.
seen it, it's really great.
Oh, Neal's texting and driving. There you go.
Oh,
Are
God.
you? Oh God.
No, I'm not.
Right, good.
It's a bad thing though, man. I've caught myself slamming on the brakes way too many times lately, and I'm like,
Oh, and I saw this.
I don't do it with kids in the car though. That is my rule. I
Well,
don't.
hold on. Am I the only one that has the voice? Are me and my wife the only one that have the voice to text here?
No, my
Like,
car does it too. My car will like
Yeah.
read it and
But
send
then
it for
like,
me.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sends weird things, man. Like it doesn't ever really. It's like 75% accurate. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be
Yeah.
careful with what I say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I wasn't actually texting for the record. I do that for work enough, and it scares the shit out of me. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Tires won't be cheap.
Well, you know what, Neal? Because this happened a few months ago, I have an exact idea of how much they're going to cost me. I know the manufacturer's price. I know that my fluids will be checked, and I know that hopefully I'm not paying for labor. Shout out to
This
you.
is-
CJ. I love you.
This is a- oh my god. Well, that was a good first 15 minutes of the show. And honestly, I wanted Jennifer here for this part. Like the first topic we're going to talk about, I actually wanted her here for this because I wanted to hear her thoughts on this too, as well as you. Like, no, I'm not to make you feel guys bad. I wanted to hear your thoughts too.
Chopped
Shaq-
over here.
Yeah, I know. And Shaq Barrett, yesterday announces his retirement. Like I think a lot of people didn't jump on his case because we understand. I mean, he lost his child in a drowning incident. They just had him and his wife had another kid. He wants to focus on his family. Now the Miami Dolphins will be getting their money back, and with the signing bonus and everything like that. I guess we'll start off with Neal because he hasn't said much in 15 minutes, so we'll let him go. Your initial reaction, like we'll talk about who's coming in tomorrow and stuff like that after, but your initial reaction on the Emmanuel Ogbah retirement, Neal, because I know you texted me and you said maybe we really are cursed.
Well, yeah, and honestly, man, it's not about me thinking Shaq Barrett was going to come in here and beat DeMarcus Ware. Like I viewed Shaq Barrett as an Andrew Van Ginkel replacement. I didn't even view him really as a starter on this defense. So, for me, I think going into the season, I was under the impression it was going to be Jalen Phillips on one side. And you'll see when we get to our camp battles, one of the camp battles I had was Chop
I fixed
Robinson.
it for you. I fixed it for you.
Well, my whole story was going to be that I had Chop Robinson beating Shaq Barrett out as a starter. So I had him as a replacement for Andrew Van Ginkel. From a timing standpoint, I like that he did it before camp started because we're able to recoup that $6.8 million over the next 2 years versus being stuck with it. But it is it does feel like, if you remember a few years back, we signed that linebacker Lawrence Timmons from Pittsburgh, and then he went AWOL here.
AWOL on us, yeah.
And I do think that what happens is, training camp's brutal, man, in the NFL, man. Just think about when you played and you had 3-a-days. It's a lot of work, man. He has that family. Like I can't fault a guy who's had tragedy in his life, lost his daughter, if he wants, to spend that time with his family after making generational wealth, right? Like he's hit his number. If my boss is listening, once I hit my number, I'm retiring. I don't care if I'm 45 or 50. Like I don't want to work a day longer than I have to. So, I get it. It does kind of put the Dolphins in a bind. I just knew it was going to be Emmanuel Ogbah when this happened. And I hope that it's not just him, but we'll talk more about that. But, it did feel like there's a lot of positive momentum with the Dolphins outside of the quarterback contract heading into the season. And, like I said, this isn't a train wreck. This isn't Jen running off the road and burning up her tires. But this is, what I view as a speed bump. It's a little speed bump. They're going to have to figure it out. They have the cap space to make it right. So, if I was the man pushing the numbers, I'd get Ogbah in here. And I like that because he still had 5.5 sacks under limited time, but I'd also ring Yannick Ngakoue here. I think Ngakoue's equal to Shaq Barrett at this point.
And he's got familiarity with Weaver, right?
Yeah, he and Tyus Bowser both played under Weaver in Baltimore, so I feel like either of them could be good fits as well. So, if we get there, we'll see how Phillips is progressing, how Chubb's progressing. But, right now it looks like if we started today, it'd be Chop and Mo Kamara. And suddenly Chris Greer looks really smart for drafting, those two guys and signing Calais Campbell, who gives inside-outside versatility. So,
It's true.
We'll see. But I think Chris Greer made some nice savvy moves to get some insurance for this happening. And, who knows, maybe the Dolphins, had at least a little bit of a heads up that this was coming. And Shaq Barrett, usually when these things happen, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this. Okay, Shaq, why don't you take a week to think about it to make sure you really want to do that? And maybe the Dolphins, were kind of aware that it was coming.
Yeah. Brittney, your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, I put out a tweet like when I heard about it, and I'll just kind of like say what I said in my tweet, that I'm happy that he did this now rather than just play out the last year when like his mind wouldn't have been here. He wouldn't have given his best self on the field, and I'm just happy that he did that now. I think everyone needs to chill out, calm down. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
That's all.
was Twitter wild yesterday after it went down?
Yeah, no, everyone had zero chill. And like it's so funny because the same people, like when we got him, the people who are like, oh, he's washed, blah, 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 were the same exact people saying, oh, you guys are so screwed now, blah, blah, blah. Like, make up your mind. Is he washed or what?
Mm-hmm.
So
And I don't think they're taking into
and not
account
to
the
cut anyone off.
explosiveness of Chop.
Well, not to cut anyone off, but it was so funny to me when like opposing fan bases were taking victory laps because of this, because they're the ones all off season who said that we had no pass rush because Phillips and Chubb were going to come. Chubb was going to be inactive to start the season. So it's just I saw that on the timeline, and I was getting into it. Obviously, like I've become just a guy that fights with Jet fans all day on Twitter. That's what I've become in my free time. But it's just like I try to bite my tongue. But when I see that level of inconsistency, like I have to call it out. And let's not forget, you have a 41-year-old quarterback coming off Achilles that's going to magically be 100%, right? Like it's to me, it's just like it's crazy. And like and then I think it sucks that Shaq Barrett's not going to be a Dolphin, because I was excited to see him play because I really like his approach. But it is what it is. Like for me, this is like the 30th guy on the roster, not the 10th. You know what I mean? That's just how I look at it.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like, they got their own problems going on with Hassan Reddick. Like, he might not even play a down for them, and they might have to trade him because of the whole issue they got in terms of paying him, right? So, like, who are Jets fans to talk right now? You know what I mean? So, and Fish Pilot makes a good point. The bummer is, and he's right. Mo Kamara and Chop Robinson, their strengths aren't setting the edge. You know what I mean? And you're not going to hear an argument from me. Jennifer, what did you think of the whole Shaq Robinson? I almost called him Shaq Robinson. What did you think of the whole Shaq Barrett retirement yesterday?
It's sad. It's sad. I totally respect his decision. I'm not going to fault him for it whatsoever. I loved watching him in Tampa. I was super excited about him. I thought it would be a great stopgap for the beginning of the season, while we waited for our guys to get back and while we waited to see like what the rookies could do. And I think it's a big loss. I never thought he was washed. Just like somebody else said today, like, oh, people were laughing when Baltimore signed Van Noy. Like, I never thought Van Noy was washed. Like, these are grizzled veteran rookie champions, like who anyone I think would be smart to have on their roster, especially if it's just to fill a temporary need. So I think it's a big loss, but I think he absolutely has to do what he has to do. And, best of luck to him and his family. What I do think it highlights is, that letting Van Ginkel go was just incomprehensibly stupid. And to what you said, reason, kind of smart though, that then look, we took those two edge rushers and we did, when I wasn't particularly that pumped about it. Not that I wasn't pumped, but I just thought there were other needs, not with Kamara. Like at that point, like I thought that was a great pick. But maybe with Chop, I didn't think it was, and this is no disrespect to Chop whatsoever. It's more a function of what
You
I
wanted
thought.
offensive linemen, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's all it boils down to. It has nothing to do with the player. It has to do with what I thought the needs were.
Jen, one thing I'll
And
say to that though is I do think that the Dolphins probably have a exit strategy coming up with Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
Chubb's been injured a lot. He's 28. Like how he comes back is going to be really important because the Dolphins have an out as a June 1 cut to save $20 million in cap space. If Chubb comes back, and let's not forget he had a great year last year, but he struggled in his first tenure, his first almost half year as a Dolphin when we traded for him. I wouldn't surprise me if this Chop Robinson pick was more forward thinking to pair Chop and Phillips with Mo Kamara being the rotational piece. And I don't think anybody was happy about losing Van Ginkel, but I do think Shaq softened that blow for me because I frankly think Shaq Barrett was a better player than Van Ginkel. But now it's kind of like egg on your face, Chris Greer, because these are the type of things that, when you have a guy, you sign him to a 1-year deal, you got to make sure that he's 100% committed.
Yeah, and everyone else commenting that AVG left, it was his choice to leave. Yeah, well, he didn't get
No, it wasn't.
So, yeah, he did not get offered anything. So,
Nothing. And the Van Ginkles were very sad about it.
Yep. So I'll just leave that there. But for the money and the difference, the age, the play, the rewarding someone who's been here for 5 years or whatever, I just think it doesn't look great. But that said, Calais plays pretty well on the edge, so we've got that going for us. For real. And maybe this just lights a fire for the rookies. But again, like even last year, it took Phillips a long time. I mean, he was hurt at the beginning of the season too, and it took him a while to get going. I don't know, just if we're talking about who's been hurt. But I agree with you. I love him. I want nothing for him to succeed. Like, I mean, this man is like, I want nothing for him to come back. It might take a little bit longer, and that was kind of a stopgap for the beginning. But I don't know. I'm hoping if it's Ogba who, comes back and fills in for a little while, I don't see that as a terrible plan B.
Me either. Me either.
I don't.
Yeah.
I always liked Ogba. I just didn't like his contract, right?
Same, Neal.
I think it's
got paid.
Neal. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think he kind of had it. I'm not saying they're the same player, but I think it's kind of the Jerome Baker effect with both of them. Like, good player, people didn't like the contract and then let it affect their perception of the player, I think sometimes.
Yeah, and Og was definitely a better fit for an Anthony Weaver defensive front than a Vic Fangio defensive front. So I think if his workout's decent, I do think he gets signed. And if anyone's bored and wants to go through some money on FanDuel, I'm doubling down that Chop Robinson's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I just think he's going to have the opportunities in this defense to make an impact early on, and I'm going to bet on him that he does.
And especially now.
He needs to get that hand, because I think he has the explosiveness and the potential to do that. But I think for him, he'd have to be more than a pass rush specialist. Like, he'd have to show the ability to be more of a 3-down defender if he was going to get enough reps unless he just is a pure pass rush specialist and every time he's out there, he's generating sacks. But I think for him to get the numbers that'll be needed, he's going to have to show that he could be more of a 3-down defender than what he showed at Penn State. And I think with Emmanuel Ogbah, what frustrated people was, we saw him get 9 sacks in back-to-back seasons, and then he got hurt, right? And he only played 9 games, and he got like a sack. Last year, Fangio clearly wasn't a fan, and he was using him in different ways that, you heard Drew Rosenhaus even talk about how they wanted to go find a defense that fit Ogbah's skill set a little bit more because they were a little turned off by how Fangio was using him last year. And he still managed, he wasn't a full-time starter. He still managed like 5 sacks on a limited amount of reps compared to what he was playing in 2020 and 2021. And to Neal's point, I think Emmanuel Ogbah would be a little bit more comfortable in a defense like this. Anthony Weaver and Mike McDonald, what they're trying to do, it's basically a branch off the Rex Ryan tree. And what was Flores what he was doing was a branch off the Rex Ryan tree, right? So I think it'll be, it's going to be a lot more aggressive, like a 3-4 under base. So I think they'll just be, I think it'll be, like you said, Neal, I think it'll fit what Ogba does a little bit more. So he's coming in tomorrow. He's got a meeting set, the workout set. The other guys available that interest me, like you mentioned, Yannick Ngakoue, Tyus Bowser, Shaq Lawson is still out there, former Dolphin. Carl Lawson's still out there as well. So, I mean, there are options if Ogba doesn't work
Marcus
out.
Golden.
Yeah, there are options if they don't like what they see from the workout. But, I think I've mentioned Ogba a few times over the last couple of months in terms of he was someone I wanted us to bring back because of the familiarity and because of the defense we were switching to. So I'm actually fully on board with this. He's got familiarity with the coaching staff. He's got familiarity with the players themselves. I think he'll have familiarity with the system. Just the terminology will be obviously tweaked and different. But, listen, I think that's a comfort type of move. The type of player you're getting, and he knows the type of organization he's walking into, and it'll be a 1-year deal. I don't think he'll break the bank by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And we'll give him a 1-year deal to kind of, okay, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you early on, and you will have a chance to make your money for the next contract, whether it be, well, it won't be in Miami because, they're going to be trying to figure out what they do with Chubb. They're not going to be, throwing a bag at Emmanuel Ogba. So, I mean, I'm interested in it. I like the potential ad. I'm not going to lie. So,
yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I was pretty upset like towards the end of the year. We didn't, what was it? The Ravens game? We benched him, didn't even play him. I don't understand why we did that. Is that the game I'm thinking of?
Yeah, somebody else was activated instead of him. Who was it? Where he
tweeted, he tweeted out before the game. You're
WTF
right.
or something like that.
Who was that? Who was it?
It was Cameron Good, right? And
no, because he got injured. He got injured. Oh, wait, you might be right. No.
Did we bring back Ingram?
Yes.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
I want to forget the Vic Fangio era. I want to forget it, to be honest. Even though
it was so disappointing and underwhelming.
There's just decisions when you're an old curmudgeon like that you make that just don't make sense, and because of your pedigree, you're allowed to make those decisions. But down the stretch, Emmanuel Ogba could have played meaningful snaps for us. He was productive.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't the Jets game that he had 2 sacks and a pick in that game?
No, dude. Neal, defensive players were going to bat from the same way X and Jalen Ramsey were going to Fangio and saying, listen, you need to bench Eli. You need to give Cam Smith the opportunity. Defensive players were going to bat for Ogba saying, yo, you need to give him more reps. Why aren't you giving him more reps? And Fangio just wasn't having it.
He had a bunch of sacks on very limited snaps. I don't understand.
Yeah, he had 5 sacks. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat too said he batted down a lot of balls, and he did. He was good at that. He was like long. He had a bunch of like passes deflected. Whoever said that was right.
Yeah.
And he can set the edge.
Yeah, he's good against the run.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also they were asking him to play in an entirely different style. Fangio asked him last year, remember, to start the season. So I don't know.
Was he having him stand up a lot more?
He was having him stand up. Yep, that's exactly right. And that started in camp, and he was like a little uncomfortable, but he played well when asked to. And I think that's why someone else said, like, well, he was very productive along the line for the snaps he played, and that's actually true.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. Someone else was asking, like, or Omar said, or somebody said, like, well, what, why is he having a tryout? What if he hasn't been, training all summer and he comes in 300 pounds? It's like there's a picture of him at his camp, like kids camp on Instagram from like yesterday, where he's perfectly in shape. And I kind of think he's been working out with Patrick Paul wherever they work out together. Like, the dude is in shape. He's getting ready. He knows that he's not, that like he's got a shot somewhere. So I'm not really worried about that.
Especially right now, a guy like that, and the other guys we named, they're in shape and they're ready to go because they know camp's coming around the corner and injuries can happen and the phone could ring at any minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is when they have to be in shape. You know what I mean?
Again, same thing with like Kyle Van Noy last year, and then look how productive he was in Baltimore.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Do we want to go ladies first or gentlemen first for training camp battles? Because my guy split it into 2 different.
Go ladies.
Let the ladies
graphics.
go
Okay.
first. Let's be gentlemen tonight.
Only tonight.
How do you want us to start it?
The look of fear on Brittany's face
I'll go
right
first,
now.
Britt. I said
Hold
that.
on a sec. I'm gonna bring up the graphic for you guys too. So give me a sec.
Oh, please don't sing.
Now I'm Neal again.
There you go.
Our names are off.
Okay.
All right. So there you go.
Oh, you have it down for us. Perf.
There you go. So, I mean, girls, knock yourself out. Jennifer, you can go first. Brittany, you can go first. The floor is yours.
You want to go one by one, Jen?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, Cater Nick, that's who I have as my first battle. And I believe that Nick is ready to take his spot back. He is going to beat out Cater.
All right, let's LFG. So the space at the top is bothering me. In between, see, Brittany, the
What
first
space?
this under my name.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
why did
yeah.
you tell me that?
I know,
that's all I see.
I know. I need to OCD it for you. Braxton Malik. It wasn't necessarily that so much as the like a fourth wide receiver. And I obviously couldn't put Easy E in there because we're looking at similar body types, etc., and returners, etc. But so I'm excited to see. Malik's the rookie that I'm most pumped about seeing. Not the most pumped, but wide receiver wise. Sorry, I should say. I don't know why people are like kind of sleeping on him. Other people are like have a battle between the Washingtons. Like I was a big fan of Malik during the draft process, and I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
I think if it wasn't for his ability as a returner, Braxton might get sent packing. If Malik might send him packing, because I said before we signed OBJ and after we signed OBJ, Malik Washington is going to be an impact player in year one. Like, I have no doubt.
But also Malik on special teams though too. Like,
he has returned. He returned a little bit at Virginia. He didn't do any returning at Northwestern. Tajay Washington actually has more return, and neither one of them have returned punts. They just return kicks. Yeah. So,
but that is a skill. Like,
yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so I get it with Braxton, but just for the body type, the whole like, I don't know. I'm excited to see the two of them together.
Yeah.
Britt.
Next one is Kendall Fuller, Cam Smith. I don't know what to think of Cam Smith because we haven't really seen him. So I say this just because I don't know what to expect out of Cam Smith at this current moment.
Yeah, and mine is a hybrid of yours, sort of, Britt.
Mm-hmm.
I left Kendall out because he's like a more proven person than Nick or Cater.
Right.
You know, but
yours is more CB3. That's what yours is more.
Yeah.
CB3.
Well, mine's Well, yes, correct. But also with Nick, then also how much safety is he going to play?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But just Cam's just an absolute wild card, and then indicator where he should play.
But all the defensive players really seem to back Cam, so that's like what makes me think like I just don't know. I don't know. Yeah, if Jalen Ramsey is excited for Cam Smith and wants him out there and saying to like unlock him and unleash him, I'm going to listen to what Jalen Ramsey is saying.
And I'm going to listen to what Britt says about what Jalen Ramsey says.
Yeah, and Britt, I think you bring up a really good point because you mentioned multiple times about like the players back in Agba and Cam Smith. I think this defense is a lot more tight-knit than it appeared last year. And maybe sometimes when you go through adversity, right, you just have a coach that doesn't really match your strength. You bond together. And I can tell you with Anthony Weaver, they're getting a guy that's the total opposite of Vic Fangio. This guy is the player coach who's going to get down in a stance and hit the sled and show him how to do it. Like he's like the players coach. Like here in Baltimore, he was loved. Like I'm not exaggerating. He was loved. I think he was probably the coach that left that staff that hurt the team the most from players that I've talked to here around it. So I think that is going to be maybe an untapped thing we see with this defense, where they're going to come with a little bit of swagger and continuity on their side. And some of these guys that kind of, if you're Cam Smith, you're a second round pick, you practically got redshirted last year, right? Like you're going to come out with some swagger. I think this defense, even despite some of the holes that it might have, it might surprise some people early.
And Cam feels like he should have been a first round pick too, right? He feels like he slipped to the second.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Me
He
and
was my
Neal,
18th player.
But was
me
it
and Neal both had him going in the first round of our mock draft last year.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't his talent that knocked him down
No,
to
it's
the second
maturity.
round, right?
You're right.
Maturity.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Correct.
maturity. Like smoking the ganja. All right.
And strip clubs.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome to Miami.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a combination for Miami, huh? Okay, next one up. I think it's Britt on the running back. Or
Jalen Wright, Jeff Wilson Jr. Listen, I really like Jalen Wright. I love what I saw of his film. But I also really like Jeff Wilson Jr. I think when he gets angry and you piss him off, he really runs angry. So yeah, I wanted to see this just because I really like Jalen Wright, but I also really like Jeff Wilson Jr. So I'm curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, I take Wright all day.
He's excited about Wright. We all are. Let's be serious. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to,
inside guy.
I got some new things coming for my live reactions, and I can't wait for every time Wright scores a touchdown. I'm gonna play the clip of the right stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Liam versus
Everett. I love
it. Honestly, let's be serious. Did you see how I muted my F word there?
Good job.
Thank you. I muted myself.
The growth is impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I am trying. Robert, shout out to you and your F-bomb counter. But seriously, like, why are you still here? What position are you going to play? Now we have no guards. Like, what is happening? Panic, panic, panic at the disco.
And Wynn's hurt on top of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he's hurt. I think it's still part of his recovery. That's what
I think.
So you think?
I think you're probably right, and I hope that that's true.
I pray that's right.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, like, whatever.
Come on, more Robert Jones and Lester Cotton doesn't excite you?
Yeah. No. Now we understand, Liam, that you're here to smooth over Chris Greer's ego or whatever. So I hope that you can make it worth it.
Regil says, "Old Nancy gonna strike again."
Thank you. Hopefully not strike our
player. I have like DM Nancy because we talked once. So now I just DM Nancy. Can you be my bestie, please? They don't write me back.
Hey, did you get followed on Instagram like Eichenberg did for Jennifer?
No, I waited too long to accept it, so he rescinded it for a second time.
What a weirdo.
Liam, it's okay. Nancy, you can try to follow me again.
Yeah. Mr. Unincredible.
My next one. Why was it? I thought I wrote 7. Why is it 8?
No, you wrote 4 to 8 because I wrote 4 to 7 when I showed you, and you put in brackets a little LOL when you sent the list to me.
So you added just an 8.
Do we have a ghost 8? I don't know, but
maybe you think they're going to carry 8 wide receivers.
God, I don't know, but yeah, all of those positions. And I also have a bold prediction that I think that Malik Washington may be OBJ for wide receiver 3, but we'll see. That was my bold prediction.
Girl, I ain't mad at you.
That's pretty bold.
Well, we'll see.
It's just a little bit different person, right? We're just talking like
we shall see. Oh, that is true.
But
I mean,
the issue is going to be that Malik offers you nothing on the boundary right now. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is
right?
true. I didn't even think about that one.
Like, I think it's going to be one of those things where, and I wrote this in my prospect profile, where, after a couple of years, once he gets more savvy with his release packages and he bulks up a little bit, okay, I think you could shift him to the boundary and see what you got there. Because his game reminds me a ton of Steve Smith, the receiver that played for the Carolina Panthers. 110%. His game reminds me of that right now. But, if you watch what he did in Virginia and stuff, a lot of it was, screens designed to get him in open space so he couldn't get jammed. I think you're going to see a lot of motion with a guy like that so they can get him his free release off the line, at least early on, right? Whereas, OBJ only played 10% of his, not even 10% of his snaps in the slot last year, something like that. So,
though he is small, he is but mighty. Can someone fix that Shakespeare quote for me, please? Because didn't he have
small
a 40?
But mighty?
Yeah,
Small but
though
mighty.
he is small, but small, he is mighty. It's a she, by the way, but whatever. We'll use it for Malik. Didn't he have a 42.5-inch vertical at the combine also this year, just like Jalen Coker?
I'll tell you right now.
I think Malik and Jalen had the tied for the highest verts.
He had 42.5-inch vert and a 10-foot 6-inch broad jump.
Yeah. Okay. So that man can get up too.
He can get up there. Yeah.
So he might be small, but he's got good hands and he can get up.
He's got the ups.
Yep. All right. Gallimore Tart, like I give it.
That's a good one though.
It is.
Look at least none of us have that one. So I give you kudos.
Thank you. But I mean, who's gonna be able to, suck up enough snaps in there, have some chemistry with our guy Sealer, and make the transition less painful.
Yeah. Cycling calls Malik Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, no, he's dope. I mean, Malik's
that's
really
Damon
good.
Stoudemire, bro. Damon Stoudemire was literally labeled Mighty Mouse. I don't know if you guys remember.
They called the head coach of Holy Cross Mighty Mouse too. Actually.
Oh yeah,
Jalen Coker's. Yeah,
they used to back in the day. Damon
throws up on the field.
He had Nike. He had Nike ads where they called him Mighty Mouse, and he got all that kind of stuff. What, Darren Drozoff? I don't know if you guys remember Darren Drozoff. He played for the Dolphins for a little bit, and then he became. There you go, Jen. He became a wrestler, but he used to throw up on the field every time.
I'm fine with throwing up on the field. That's fine with me. You can poop on the field. I don't really care. Just do your job on the field, and I'm good with it.
Well, I don't know about pooping on the field. I got boundaries.
I know. People poop on the field sometimes. I remember there's I
can't do it.
There's a story
I'll throw up.
About someone getting a game ball for taking a dump on the sideline instead of going back into the locker room to do it. Yeah.
Right in the Gatorade, right in the Gatorade.
Disgusting.
I know. But I'm just saying, I want to know which one of those guys is actually going to I don't need you to be a superstar, but I need you to just clog up the middle and, suck up enough snaps and do your job to make Zach's job easier and the edge guys easier and to, we're rotating this freaking line. So somebody who could just do it and be stalwart in the line for
Zach.
All right. Brittney doesn't have Eichenberg versus everyone. She has Eichenberg versus Driscoll. And she's on a nickname basis. He's Ike.
No, that it wasn't even the name. Oh no,
I actually said Ike versus Neal, and he goes, "It's reason Nealed at me for it." I was like, "Sorry, I got my Driscolls mixed up." I was multitasking. I was getting ready to walk into court while
they might be calling me to play some guard here if this team doesn't fucking get some guys making some plays. It's pretty dire there right now. We might have a Driscoll combo at the guards.
Oh. Neal, go out there.
And Jonnu Fortson, just because I still have a soft spot for Durham, and I'm going to keep it that way. But I'd like to see these two freaking units battling it out and see who wins out as maybe a more electric pass catcher. Yak guy, obviously Jonnu's Yak, but who can actually catch the ball and make stuff happen?
I'm shocked and disappointed you didn't have Hayden Ricci on here. Also impressed at the same point.
I've tried. I can't. I just want that man to make practice squad. he's like posting himself like fishing in like creeks next to a freaking highway
Zach
or
Seiler's
whatever.
old RV house.
I love it, and I just want him to make the practice squad and just like keep stacking days, getting 1% better each and every day, so that one day he can be our tight end. But I have to be real about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Neal.
I'm excited to see yours because you guys were keeping it a secret and wouldn't tell us.
The time is now, Neal.
Reason just puts
really Reason? That was
Yeah.
the laziest take I've ever seen.
How's that lazy? None of you had backup center.
Battle at edge, battle for left guard. Like,
yeah, that's it.
We had to fix that on the fly because
I want the chat to know how specific you were to me and Jen, and then you guys, you were so.
Here, let me read it.
And then you yelled at us, and then you yelled at us when we gave it to you.
How do you yell through text? You
I know you.
So that is a lie.
And you were using capital letters, and I'll post the text.
Such an exaggerator of our. I'm actually looking through our text to read it because I said give me position specific or player specific.
Jen, back me up.
That's what I did.
Jen, back me up.
No, I agree with Britt 1,000,000%. And I thought, yeah.
I'm going to literally read the text right now, so I hope. So back you guys up all you want.
And then you yelled at me and Jen.
I did not yell again. I've never even used.
You used all
letters.
caps. You used all
Look
caps.
at the lies right now. Holy jeez! You've been hanging out with too many lawyers.
I'm usually the one.
It's my job. Go ahead, boys. Go ahead.
There you go. I need training camp battle list tonight, ladies. Do position specific or player versus player specific. Boom. Then you yelled at me.
Brittany said I already gave them to you.
No, she said, but she yelled at me. In all caps, I thought I sent mine that day. That's literally what she says right here.
Because we're not talking about those messages. We're talking about the messages earlier in the day.
What are you talking about? Literally, I said do position specific or player versus player specific. What are you talking about?
Right lies. The lies.
Do you want me to share our...
No, Brittany gave you the list days earlier.
Please don't.
It's right before we did the pizza chat.
Oh my God. I am so cropping this up and putting it on the screen right now. It's unbelievable.
I thought who you wanted to see.
Just make sure no, like,
me a liar.
I was like, I want to see Liam Eichenberg again.
Call me a liar, will you?
Make sure nothing else is.
Nothing is also. Okay. Except the truth.
The lies.
All right, right there. I need training camp battle.
We can't even see that. That's so small.
Leave it that
way. Get your eyes checked. There you go. Zoomed in. I'll zoom in extra for you. I need training camp battle list tonight, ladies. Do position specific or player versus player specific. Neal already sent his, so no slacking. And you're the one typing in caps, yelling at me.
Because
Thank you very much.
Look at above that. I said we did because we sent it earlier. You're showing the later messages.
Amnesia.
I replied.
The whole thing the whole question here is whether you're
showing
about
the
how
wrong messages.
Oh my God! You said these never happened. Bro,
all right,
listen.
so Britt's her original one, clear ones that come to mind immediately: Neal, Ike, OBJ, Washington, Berrios, Easy, Craig Kraft, Johnny Smythe, Hill.
That's not the question at hand. The question at hand right now is how I listed my training camp battles. And that's what started this whole discussion, was when you guys saw how I listed mine. So I'm showing you that I said specific positions or specific player versus player. I gave the option. So thank you very much.
You also left out where you yelled at me and Jen.
I didn't yell at you. I've never used capital letters in our freaking chat once. Go find the message where I use capital letters. Go.
All right, perfect.
Go find them. Anyways, back to the show.
Sorry, everyone.
Neal.
Sorry.
I changed Chop versus what's its face to battle at edge for you. But for me, I got CB3, and I don't mean slot. I'm talking about like Ethan Bonner, Cam Smith, who's gonna fill the role on the boundary behind, Jalen Ramsey and Kendall Fuller and everything like that. So my thing is battle is CB3, because that'll be an interesting battle. I mean, it's a battle that obviously should be won by Cam Smith, but you got battle at edge as your top battle to watch.
Yeah, and I had it as Shaq versus Chop because I was going to say that I think Chop was going to beat him out and start. So I whoever it is, Agba, I think Chop's going to find a way to start on this team, and it wouldn't shock me if Phillips is back to start the season based off what I've seen from him. That guy's just an alien at this point. He looks like he is in. I couldn't name a player off the top of my head that looks more ready to play football physically than Jalen Phillips based off the videos that I've seen. He's absolutely insane. And, so I think Chop's, kind of really what I said, I'm betting on my belief in Anthony Weaver here to develop him quickly, help him get, his hands, better. And with that first step, I think he's going to get 7 to 9 probably sacks in his rookie year. And I think another thing is that he's going to force some fumbles. So I'm excited to see Chop Robinson. And I do think that he's going to, be a week 1 starter on this defensive front.
Number 2, I got QB3, Skylar Thompson and Gavin Hardison. I don't think anything is promised for Skylar Thompson. I mean, there's already articles. You can find an article on heavy.com. There's already articles coming out right now that Skylar Thompson's days are numbered in Miami. He's had a few years to prove something. He can't jump a guy like Mike White on the depth chart. I said, heading into OTAs, the Underwear Olympics, I said everyone would love Gavin Hardison and what they saw in shorts, because he's got a live arm, he's got good accuracy down the field. The problem is, when the pads come on, his decision making and his accuracy over the short to intermediate levels, it really starts to waver for Gavin Hardison. And he's not a very good decision maker by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that's when people will start to see a little bit more of the warts to his game. But at the same time, you look at the arm, you look at the touch and the accuracy he already has on the deep level. Is that going to be one of those things where they say, okay, well, we've already seen Skylar Thompson for 2 years, move off of him and let's invest in another guy and see if we can get something out of Gavin Hardison with a couple-year investment. So QB3 is an interesting battle for me that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. And then you got Achane versus Mostert, and we both agree pretty much that Achane's going to take over the running back 1 spot, Neal.
Yeah, well, on the quarterbacks, I wonder if Ryan Tannehill was never a Dolphin, if he would be an option here. I'd cut Mike White, Skylar Thompson, and Gavin Hardison to have Tannehill as the full-time backup of this team right now. I really would. And I think those 3 players being cut, the cost would be probably in line what it would cost to get Tannehill here. But I digress. I think Mike McDaniel's been extremely loyal to Raheem Mostert. We've seen that. But I think Devon Achane's so good that he's going to break that loyalty. And I'm on record. I think Devon Achane's going to be the best Dolphin heading up to the season. When you look at training camp, the preseason, I just think Achane's on the verge of stardom. And, with Mostert's, kind of end of the season unavailability that we've seen the last few years, I think that Dolphins are going to be a little more open-minded maybe than they've been in the past. And Achane just seems like a guy to me that with more opportunities, he's going to put a stranglehold on that position.
Next one up, I got wide receiver 4 to 7. Obviously, Waddle, Beckham, and Hill are pretty much locks. And then where the bodies start to fall after that is anyone's guess. I mean, between Izakama, Craycraft, Berrios, and Malik, you got an interesting battle. But then you've also got, they have put some time into helping develop Anthony Schwartz. Braylon Sanders has been here for a couple of years already. They drafted Tajay Washington late. And they also brought in Jaquan Burton. Now, I think, Braxton and Malik are pretty much locks. So that would be 4 and 5. I think 6 and 7 is where it really gets interesting. I have a hard time believing they're going to let River Craycraft walk. They love River Craycraft, this staff, going all the way back to San Francisco. He's responsible and he's smart, responsible in the sense of, you ask him to block, he'll block. You ask him to come across the middle and catch a football, he'll come across the middle and catch a football. He's smart, he's savvy in the system. He's a high IQ player. They just love him. Honestly, I really have a hard time believing that they'll let him walk. But hey, you never know, right? So, and then you got Fortson versus Julian Hill, which I would 110% agree on as a battle to watch.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of chalk right now with Jonnu Smith and Durham Smythe. Like the Dolphins, we talk about the players the team likes more than the fans, and I think Durham Smythe falls under that category. A guy who's like that lunch pail guy who just does his job well. And I think they brought Jonnu in to be more the vertical pass catcher. And I think what Jody Fortson brings more so than anything in this group is a red zone presence. And I think we'll see that in the preseason. He's a better pass catcher than Julian Hill, and I know they like him. I have them probably throwing Julian Hill on the practice squad, but I think Forston's going to be a breath of fresh air here in Miami. And, I think he's actually not only just going to take that third position, I think he'll get some shots in the red zone. I mean, there were, I saw some Chief games where Mahomes was giving him some shots. So I think Forston could be a nice little matchup nightmare for us. And, that's a pretty damn good tight end room compared to what we've seen in the last few years, to be honest.
Yeah, between Fortson and Jonnu Smith, they've added some athleticism and guys that can make stuff happen after the catch, which we haven't really had over the last couple of years, including Mike Gesicki, right? So
right. Well, and Jonnu Smith is a better player than Mike Gesicki, and I know that might not be popular, and
it's
I know
not even close.
Yeah, Gesicki had that one really good year, which was 8 touchdowns, 860 yards, but like he's the first time, the next time he breaks a tackle is going to be the first time, right? Like he just doesn't give much, and at that position, in all honesty, you want that position, man. When your tight end can be like George Kittle and catch a 8-yard pass and break 2 tackles, and then like players like Jeremy Shockey come to mind and stuff like that. Like those are huge tone setters for your offense.
Yeah, it's another dynamic, right?
Yeah, you want your tight end to be a tough ass dude that's like, kind of, just a badass. And I think Jonnu Smith, low key, is the best tight end we might have had here since Randy McMichael. Like it's been, I mean, that hasn't been our position of strength. So I actually think like a lot of people are sleeping on Jonnu Smith. 6-7 touchdowns, 700 yards. That's a lot. That's a big improvement from what we had last year.
Yeah. At right guard, that's where I have my next battle, Jack Driscoll and obviously Liam Eichenberg. I mean, we've been talking about this since when we signed Jack Driscoll. I told everyone, there's your battle. There's your right guard battle. And they've gone ahead and they have not even added anyone. I mean, we do not expect Robert Jones or Lester Cotton to really put up that big of a fight. It's going to come down to those two players. I mean, interesting or scary or holding your breath. I don't know how you want to describe it, but it's not a good interesting. It's a, oh my God, let's hope either one of these guys outperform our expectations and we get some stability, because something that not enough people are talking about is the ripple effect this is going to have on Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson no longer has Robert Hunt to lean on the interior. Now Austin Jackson will be looked to help elevate either one of those guys that are next to him. And you're going from a guy in Robert Jones who got paid the way he got paid because he's a really good guard in this league, to now you're going to line up next to a question mark. And will Austin Jackson's game suffer? Will he start looking like the guy we were all like, he's not going to make it? I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the right guard battle and winner, the ripple effect it has on a guy like Austin Jackson. And then you got an interesting one here. You got Kader Kohou versus Ethan Bonner. I'm guessing you're thinking about the slot right now.
Yeah, well, here's my Britt had a bold take earlier. My bold take is that when we get to the final 53-man roster, Kader Kohou's not on that roster. I think they're going to go with the top 3 corners being Ramsey, Cam Smith, and Kendall Fuller. Nick Needham, I think, is going to regain his spot there.
Yeah,
and I think Ethan Bonner can beat out Kader Kohou for that last position. And we've talked about how players are kind of capping for certain players. We've seen Tyreek Hill cap for Ethan Bonner, right? And we know he has speed. The team obviously likes him. And I know that Kader Kohou was a really good find, it seemed like a few years ago. But he was the worst player on the Miami Dolphins last year. Like, that's just is what it is. So, like for me, well, there's going to be an opportunity for Bonner, and I just think this guy's going to seize the position during the preseason. And with Kader Kohou, maybe you can get a late round draft pick if you do move him, and it's quite the fall from grace. And it doesn't really match the trajectory you would probably expected 2 years ago from Kader Kohou. But I mean, when I say he was bad last year, when I rewatched the game, I wrote, how was this guy on our roster? You know what I mean? It was like,
no, why
and
was
I like
Fangio continuously putting him on the boundary? Like, the tape was telling you he is not ready for the Stephon Diggs. He is not ready for to handle the elite guys on the boundary. And they kept saying, well, let's throw him out there and see what we got. That was bad coaching.
Oh, I agree. But I just
what did it do to his confidence too?
Exactly. I was literally going to say, now his confidence is probably shot. Right?
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
And I know this staff, from what they saw on film, they weren't very high on the film last year either. Anthony Weaver and his new guys that come in, they weren't very thrilled. And I think you nailed the key point. People forget how good Nick Needham was before the injury. He only had one bad game. What was it, in 2021 when Isaiah McKenzie gave him some issues? But other than that, in 2021, he was one of the best slot options in the league. And now the fact that he can move around and be more of a, in year one, remember when all the injuries happened and we leaned on him on the boundary and he outperformed his UDFA status on the boundary, right? Then they move him to the slot. He excels there. They've been cross-training him at safety. I think he fits and has shown more capability in the hybrid role than Kader Kohou does.
Yeah.
And reason, what's a staple of what Chris Grier seeks? Versatility, right? You just said it. He has the ability to play out on the boundary, inside, and even line up at safety. That's exactly what this front office covets. So for me, it wouldn't surprise me if Nick Needham ended up being a difference maker this year for this team down the stretch.
Yeah, and he got a new contract with us. I think he could get a new contract. Yeah,
as good as Kader Kohou did play in the nickel 2 years ago, when Needham was healthy there, he was better. And there was a time when it was Nick Needham and Tavon Young in Baltimore as kind of the top two nickel corners in football.
Sure.
And I would love to see Nick Needham. Because I do think that, last year was kind of, him bouncing back from that injury. And, he's obviously a full year healthier now, and he's hungry, and he's on a small deal, right? He's on a small deal. So he's the type of dude I just think that's going to attack it and be quite a good find for us. So, I'm a big Nick Needham fan.
So our final ones here, I got center too, because here's the deal. Let's say Eichenberg wins the right guard spot. Our backups right now are Andrew Meyer and Ireland Brown, right? You got Andrew Meyer, who played center and guard at UTEP. He was an undrafted free agent. And you got Ireland Brown, who was at Rutgers, another undrafted free agent. It's Aaron Brewer and then a bunch of undrafted free agents. If Eichenberg wins the right guard spot, I don't know how that makes anyone sleep well at night. I really don't, because we've already dealt with an Aaron Brewer injury during OTAs. I mean, now you're what? You're going to, if he goes down, you slide Eichenberg from right guard to center, and then you roll Driscoll. See, the problem is, if Eichenberg wins that right guard battle, we want him to stick at right guard. We don't want that. I'm sick and tired of this guy moving around because they keep using it as an excuse to keep giving him another shot. Let him stick at one position, see what it gives you. If you don't give you it, send him packing, and send him to flip burgers at the local McDonald's. Enough of this giving excuses. People want to talk about, Tua's been handed this job. They don't want to bring in competition for Tua. You want to talk about someone who's been handed a job and they don't want to bring in competition? See Liam Eichenberg's existence with the Miami Dolphins. That's what's happened. Shout out to you, Nancy, if you're watching. You got your battle for left guard, Neal, as
and you know what? I could just piggyback off you and make it interior offensive line. Like you said, Ireland Brown, right? I already have a top 750 prospect list for the 2025 draft. I know a lot of draft prospects. I never heard of this guy. It sounds like a bad infomercial law firm, right? At the end of the day, the Dolphins have a serious problem on the interior of the offensive line headed the season, with Isaiah Wynn already being on the PUP list. And I know it's probably precautionary, but it makes me the hair on my neck stand up. I don't like going into this big season, which this is, we talk about measuring stick. This is a measuring stick season for the coach, the GM, the owner, the quarterback, everything. Like, this is the biggest season the Dolphins have had. I can't even tell you since when. Definitely in the post Marino era, because it's like, was this rebuild worth it? And to hinge it on just an inadequate interior offensive line, to me, is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and they better use that cap space that they have to go find some guys. And I've been talking about Mark Lewinsky for a while here, and I saw that Chris Kaufman over at 3 yards per carry just mentioned him within the last couple of days as well. Like that's a guy. Greg Van Roten. Go get both of these guys. Look, you're going to have, after this deal comes back, what, $17 to $19 million in cap space. I'd sign Yannick Ngakoue, Emmanuel Agba, Greg Van Roten, and Mark Lewinsky, and have the best freaking people start, and the other ones back them up, because disaster's coming if they don't find a depth. Because Eichenberg, like you said, they're loyal to Eichenberg. He's another guy they like way more than us. We know what we're going to get out of him this year. Like,
yeah, but Neal, you know what doesn't sit well with me, Neal? You're loyal to him because you don't want to admit your fault in adding a draft pick in the equation and trading up for him. That's where the loyalty stems from. The loyalty doesn't stem from great play on the field. The loyalty stems from an investment, and you're not willing to wait to admit that your investment was wrong.
And you know why you're right? Because if the Dolphins, if they cared about Liam Eichenberg, they could probably sign him to an extension right now for an Applebee's gift card and 7 Slim Jims or something, right? Nobody else wants this guy. So if you believed in him so much, you'd go out and sign him to a new contract. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if this season falls apart because of the offensive line, after all the emphasis that's been put on it, all the attention, there's no more excuses I can make for anybody in that front office.
And the last couple of years, all the flags that have popped up to tell us to upgrade it to the best of our ability, whether it be Tua getting hit, whatever the case may be, and you're still not, or the dip in the run game after Wynn and Connor went down. Like, you've had all these red flags pop up of how this should be a priority to upgrade, and you've treated it. You know what's scary? You remember how a couple years ago, Neal, what I used to say? I used to say they're treating the offensive line like the running back room. Now they treat the running back room better than they treat the offensive line by trading up for Jalen Wright, drafting Achane last year. They're investing more resources in the running back room than they are the offensive line. Go figure that one out.
And it's pure arrogance, because it's not like the draft didn't have good talent. Look at what Pittsburgh's done in the last 2 years. Last year, they went out and they drafted Broderick Jones, right? And he's going to be their left tackle of the future. In free agency, they picked up right guard Isaac Seumalo. And then in this draft, they took Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier. And then they even went in the later rounds and took Mason McCormick, who I think has developed into a really good depth piece. Like, they went there and totally revamped their offensive lines. And say what you want about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and how they haven't had a quarterback since Big Ben. Mike Tomlin's never finished below 500 or better in his career, and they win by building physical, tough teams in the trenches. Like, if Russell Wilson was the player that he was in Denver last year, the Steelers are going to be a fucking problem in this league. And like, I hate the fact that, and look, Fautanu won one spot against us, and give me the elite pass rusher if that's what he turns out to be over him. But to me, man, there was no excuse to not, and I like Patrick Paul, but not to find a quality starting interior guy in round 2, because they needed that. They've needed it for years. And I like Aaron Brewer. I'm cool with Aaron Brewer. Our guard positions, though, and we play in the AFC where there's Chris Jones and Justin Matabuki and Quinnen Williams, all in our conference that we'll have to go through to go to a Super Bowl run. And I watched John Simpson in Baltimore literally get beat on every single snap by Chris Jones. And it disrupted the Ravens in the AFC Championship, and it threw Lamar off all day long. And the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl and won another one. Like, we have to figure out this interior.
Well, you know what I was thinking about? You know what I was thinking about a couple of days ago, Neal? Name a team that won the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line or an iffy offensive line.
One.
I was thinking about them. I couldn't. The 1 year the Chiefs had an iffy offensive line, they lost to Tom Brady because they couldn't protect Mahomes in the finals. Well, look at the offensive line they had in Tampa that year. You know, look at when the Eagles won. They had one of the with Hurts. They had one of the or Foles. They had top 3 offensive line in the league. Like if you actually think about it, historically, you need like a top 5, top 10 offensive line to win the Super Bowl. Like you can't make it happen with a top 20. It's a lot more, like I don't know how they're not looking at this and being like, I don't know. And then you're all worried about paying your quarterback and you want injury incentives built in, but you're not doing your best damn job to protect the guy. What the hell is that? Like, talk about an oxymoron. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, Brittney, you've had an hour and 15 minutes.
Yes.
What's the best you've come up with in terms of fun questions?
Okay, I do, but I think because we're already going an hour and 15, it's almost 10 o'clock. We should save it for our next show.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that next show. Final thoughts from you gals then and guys?
So Jennifer and I, we have part 2 with Travis Wingfield coming tomorrow night, and then this week we are sitting down with Mina Kimes, and we are very excited about it. We will definitely be attacking the offensive line because she's a queen out there, and just asking her tons of questions about her offensive line. So get ready for all that.
Jennifer, final thoughts?
I don't know what you would ask Brittney about her final thoughts prior to your final thoughts question.
Oh, because we talked about it backstage. I'll tell you when we get out of here, Jen.
Okay. I'm just, guys, I'm just happy to be here after my treacherous early evening, I should say. So what I will say is, don't text and drive. Not that I was texting and driving, but absolutely don't do that. Be safe. Love y'all. But no, she's not. And that's also something we're going to tackle.
Yeah.
Cycling.
I get asked that a lot.
I don't know why or how this has happened. Why is she her doppelganger? I don't know. I want an explanation. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Okay. I also want an explanation about why they are twins. I'm curious, and I can't wait to find out on Tuesday.
Separated at birth. That's your explanation.
There we go.
Oh, maybe.
Neal, is there going to be a segment on? Are you going to have a doppelganger segment? I want to know.
Neal left.
Neal said, "Enough of this."
Neal's like, "I'm out of here."
Well, we're obviously asking that question. How are we not going to ask it?
I know. I was literally going to tell her.
Yeah, when I tweeted at her, it was Neal. Like, "Do you want to come onto an all women's Dolphins podcast?" Parenthetically, with your doppelganger. And I'm sure she then looked at it and said,
"Oh crap,
that's weird." Yeah. So in I would look at their two little Avies, and I'm like, this is interesting, and it needs to be addressed.
Neal, final thoughts, Neal?
Yeah. So I did not end on a bad note, but I think things are about to get really uncomfortable in Miami. It looks like Jordan Love's going to be signing his extension in the next 72 hours, and the Dolphins are right on the verge of training camp. So to me, that's just going to put the distance that's between Tua and the Dolphins even further apart. And I don't think that's a good distraction.
Is it though, or is he prepared for it because they're all athletes first?
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's gonna add time to the length that it takes to get the Tua deal done. The Dolphins have it seems like they have a line right now that they're not willing to go past, and I don't know, man. I hate it. I hate where we are. I hate that it's finally football season, and the one question that I wanted to answer when this season started hasn't been answered. To me, it makes me nervous. I'm just going to be 100% honest. It makes me nervous. Not the fact that I think Tua is going to hold out. I think he'll be there week 1 when it matters. But I think that he might be holding in. I think we're going to see some of that.
He's
stuff
holding in.
Yeah. So I think you saw at OTAs.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think Tua, as good as he is, and as much as I like him, I think he needs as much 11-on-11 work as possible. So that just doesn't make me feel great, but it is what it is. This is the business side of the game we love, right? So hopefully the next time we all get together, the quarterback's locked up, but who knows, man? I thought it'd be done at this point, so I'm not panicking, but I'm biting my nails a little bit.
Wait, Neal, what are you scared about? Sorry.
That they don't get it done and then it drags out and it impacts their growth as an offense with all the new faces.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I just wanted to specifically. Yeah.
William Samper says if Love gets $56 million per year, look out again. Don't look at the annual average. It's all about the guaranteed money. That's what this is going to come down to. So, all right. Okay. We'll be back next week for Dolphins After Dark, and we'll have a little bit more instead of a segment of me and Brittney bickering at each other about what we said in text.
I'm gonna win this though.
Oh yeah, sure you are. Okay. Anyways, smash that like button, subscribe for new. Training camp is back this week, and we'll be live this week a whole ton. Appreciate all y'all for coming through and spending some of your Sunday night. Until next time, fins up all day, every day, and we will see y'all later. Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.